Hello everyone and welcome to NFLGirlUK Meets. I'm Liz Bhandari and this is a show that brings you closer to the game you love. In this episode, I speak with Stephanie Pemberton, who is the Vice President of Marketing at the Indianapolis Colts. Her career is one that I find really inspiring as she started as an intern and has worked her way up to where she is today. She's currently in her 16th season with the team and you can just tell how passionate she really is about her job. Not only is Stephanie a career woman, but she is a wife and mother too. So we discuss a typical day, the biggest misconceptions of working in professional sports, as well as how she manages a positive work-life balance. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you, Liz?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited for our listeners to hear more about what it is you do. Now, from what I've read, you've had an incredible career with the Colts. Tell me about how this came around for you and how the organisation has changed during your time.
I guess as far as kind of how it all started, so I, had kind of decided that I wanted to pursue a career in sports pretty early on in my kind of college career. I was majoring in communications and minoring in marketing. And so as I was looking at kind of what I wanted to do with that degree, I think one of the things that I liked about the degree is I think it offered a lot of options as far as directions that I could go. But I had kind of evolved, as a sports fan as a child growing up in Indiana, being born and raised here, obviously, I had kind of developed a fandom for our local teams and things like that. And so it developed kind of an interest in sports, but I think was intrigued by kind of the business side of it. And when I started my college career, I really started kind of very early on working towards, setting myself up to be in a position where I could eventually hopefully get an internship. I, did a lot of other internships prior to working in sports. I was very involved in campus trying to build my resume. And I was actually able to first land an internship with our university's athletic department. They had a pretty robust internship program. And so I was able to secure an internship there while I was actually in school. So it was, a 15 to 20 hour a week commitment. After class or before class, I would go do office hours, and then on the weekends or weeknights, we would work a lot of the different athletic events. So whether that was a football game, a basketball game, a soccer match, we would work a lot of the varsity sporting events and help from a staffing standpoint. And I think that internship really solidied that this is what I wanted to do and this is what I wanted to pursue as a career. I loved every minute of it. Although it meant that I was missing out, some on the social side of the college experience. Instead of being able to tailgate at the football games, I was actually getting up at 6 a.m. and going and working the games, and but I loved every minute of it. And so I think for me it really solidified that this is what I wanted to pursue. And so through one of my classes at Purdue, I actually was able to meet someone that worked for our women's professional basketball team here in Indianapolis, and he had an internship, a summer internship available. So I applied for that, interviewed, and was selected to do that. And so I had shared with him, throughout my internship, when he had asked kind of where do you want to land and what do you want to end up doing, I had shared that, my ultimate goal was to work in the NFL. And it just so happened as my internship was winding down, that he had gotten a call from a friend of his that worked at the Colts saying that they, had something fall through with their season-long intern and were looking for an intern to fill that gap. And so he asked me if I would be interested, and I said, absolutely. So I actually ended up canceling my classes for that semester so that I could go work full-time for the Colts in an internship. And I ended up kind of pushing my graduation date back 6 months so that I could do that. And it ended up being, one of the best decisions for me because when I finished up my internship with the Colts, I continued to stay in contact with them. And they reached out to me in April before I was getting ready to graduate and said, hey, we've been approved to kind of expand our community relations department, and, we'd like for you to come in kind of an entry-level capacity with the club starting in May when you graduate. And obviously I was, flattered and decided to jump at that opportunity. So, that's really what kind of how my career got started. And then I would say, over time, it's been a combination of, a lot of hard work and dedication and, giving it my all and focusing on each step of the process and each step of the journey. And then that, I think, combined with just, good timing, honestly, where at key points in my career, there were just opportunities for advancement within and opportunities that, I was able to grow within the organization. And so it was, definitely a combination of, and that's what I always tell students that are looking to get in sports. You could be super qualified and have a great resume, but if there aren't any jobs available, unfortunately, it's got to be kind of a combination of timing and, being in the right place at the right time, I guess, and having the right skill set. And so I was able to grow within our community relations department for several years and then got an opportunity to expand my role into more of a marketing role about 6 years ago or 6 or 7 years ago. And so have now, I started out as the director of marketing and again, just have had opportunities to grow and expand my role even on the marketing side. So it's been an exciting journey for me. I think, I feel very blessed to work for obviously my hometown team, but also for an organization that is a family-owned business, and I think that has values and a mission statement that align with kind of my personal values and how I believe that work should be done and the kind of doing things the right way and aligning with my values. And I think that combined with the opportunities that have been there for growth, is why people say, what's kept you there for so long? And I think it's been that combination of there's been opportunities to grow, but then I also feel like this is an organization that I admired even as a young child. And I think the way that they do their business and the way that they go about their business and, the family that's running the business and owns the business, is something that I personally believe in and align with from a value standpoint. And so I think those two things combined have been, big factors in keeping me here. And, the fact that I've really enjoyed the opportunity to work in sports. So that's kind of how I got here. And then was your next question kind of day to day, what that looks like?
Obviously, you're in a very high position. So what's a typical day look like for you?
One of the things that I've always loved about sports is, I wouldn't say that there's ever kind of a typical day. And, that's, again, one of the things that's, I think drew me to sports is just that it is a very dynamic atmosphere. And so with each day, there's new things that, maybe weren't on your radar the day or the week before. But there's also things that you can, that kind of happen over time, and then bigger projects and larger scale events and things like that you can kind of work towards and see come together over time. So I think that combination of being able to kind of have that dynamic environment where things are changing and you have to kind of sometimes react to what's happening, but then also you get an opportunity to really plan and be a part of some pretty significant projects and initiatives as an organization is one of the things that I enjoy. And I think, the interesting thing about sports that I've learned over the years, working in it, is it's very different from a lot of other industries and, fan behaviors and everything, are just different than maybe, what other brands, other consumer brands, how they would approach their business. And I think, perfect example of that is, we were all ramped up and ready for this season back in August. And then, our quarterback decided to retire and no one saw that coming. No, that wasn't on our radar. We weren't building a business plan around that. And so being able to kind of quickly adjust and then, we were ramping up for the regular season. So quickly adjusting, sort of doing a small kind of reset and then, going full force with, plans and everything that we had worked on leading up to the season. So again, I think if you're used to an industry that's, where everything is, 3 to 5 years out, and, there's not much kind of day-to-day that's highly impacting your business, then, sports can be a pretty significant change for that, from that. And I think, that's one of the things that I really enjoy. But as far as kind of a day-to-day, what a day-to-day looks like, I think some of it depends on the time of year. Obviously, during the season, we're very much in kind of execution mode, and so we're much more kind of in go mode at that point. But I think as we wind down towards the end of the year and start, we're starting to really turn the page to 2020 and starting working on business plans and kind of setting the framework for what we want to accomplish for the 2020 season. And so during the off season, there's a little bit more kind of planning, meetings, strategy development, evaluation of the last season, looking at data and utilizing kind of year-end recaps and then setting goals for the next year. And then really in April, things start to ramp up again because you have the NFL draft, and then you go into training camp, and then obviously the season's here. So I like to say, there really is no off season. The NFL has done a great job of creating a 365-day sport where fans are truly engaged throughout the entire year. And so, we at the local level really try to create that same sense of year-long engagement with our fans. And so between, large temple events that we have, as well as kind of the day-to-day events and programs that we have going on, we have our brand out in our community and a part of this community 365 days a year. So marketing for us, as far as kind of the overarching roles and responsibilities, we have several departments that kind of feed up through marketing, and that would include our events department. So all of our large-scale events, whether that's a concert that we do, whether it's a 5K run, whether it's our training camp that we put on, and then a game day, obviously, are our largest events that we put on. So we have kind of that events department that does a lot of our large fan events, including has a significant role on game day. We have our community relations department, which is where I kind of started, and that's more the philanthropic arm of the organization. So they're the ones, that are working with our players, our coaches, our owners, and kind of our philanthropic work in the community. Our mascot program and our cheerleading program are both a part of our marketing arm. And again, they're 365-day-a-year programs, whether it's, they each of those departments does over 300 appearances every single year. And they have several programs that they run as well. And then our youth football department is, again, another extension of marketing and really is focused on kind of growing the game of football at the youth level and continuing to kind of invest back in the game at the youth level. And then we also, as a department, oversee all of our ticket marketing, all of our brand marketing, and then of all of the kind of the premium items and affinity clubs and things like that. So fan clubs, we have a loyalty program. So our department's kind of responsible for those as well.
Sure. And I guess of all the different, projects that you must get involved in and that you've been involved in over the years, is there like a particular one that you're, still so proud of today?
I think there's been some programs over the years that I think we've been able to build that I'm, really proud of. We have programs that literally, I helped start back when I was an intern and that we're still doing today. And I think, they've evolved and they've been tweaked a little, but being able to see things, from literally start to now where they've grown to has been really exciting. So, one of the things for me, for sure, as an intern, we kind of built an annual blood drive that has now turned into the largest blood drive in our state every year, and one of the largest ones in the country. And we've actually had other NFL teams come in and kind of build a model around what we've done in that space. So that's certainly, something that I'm proud of. I also helped start a a program called Books for Youth that provides backpacks filled with books to foster youth. And that program, again, we started it when I was an intern, and it's now grown and evolved into something pretty substantial for us. So those are a couple kind of on the community side. I think more on the marketing side, our events team has been able to create some new programs and events that I think I'm really proud of and I think are very successful. One of them is a 5K run that we started shortly after I took over the marketing job, and it's been really successful for us and just provides a great fan experience where fans get to finish their 5K run on the 50-yard line of our stadium.
Amazing.
So it just provides a really cool experience for them. And then we've also started a kickoff concert that just is used to kind of merge, music with football and bring kind of those two entertainment industries together for just a fun night of celebration and getting people excited for the start of the season. So those are a couple of our larger events. I think the other thing that I would say that I'm really excited about is our training camp. We have always our ownership has always believed that, training camp is an opportunity to, share it with the fans and to give fans a very personal and up-close look at the organization and our players. And so we do a training camp that's off-site from our, offices and make it free and open to the public so that fans can come in for any practice and enjoy, seeing their favorite players right there, up close and personal, closer than they would be able to get at a game even, and really provide that sort of personalized and kind of close-knit, connection with the team where you don't you just don't necessarily get that on game day. Game day is obviously more about the excitement of the game and the competition and, the wins and losses and, kind of that broader experience. But I think training camp really provides a great opportunity for fans who may or may not have ever been to a game to really experience the team and engage with our brand. So we've built a pretty significant footprint at a local sports park here in Indiana and have built one of the larger footprints in the entire NFL around training camp. So that's been a really exciting thing to see come together over the past couple of years, and I think something that we're going to continue to lean into for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. And I guess speaking of engagement, social media obviously is absolutely massive and it's something that continues to grow. What is more important for you guys? Is it keeping your, your message on brand and informative, or is it keeping it fresh and entertaining to get more engagement?
I think for us, it's, we are, sports is unique because, we have fans from all different walks of life, all different kind of backgrounds, and such a diverse fan base. And I think for us, we really strive to make sure that, we have opportunities for fans to engage at every stage of their kind of fan life cycle. And so, as we think about our brand, I think we have a lot of different opportunities, and we try to make sure that we have meaningful ways for fans at every age, whether that's, 5-year-olds, seeing our mascot at their school, or coming to a game with their parents, or, visiting training camp and running through football drills, with their siblings, all the way up to, our longest tenured season ticket member who's, had season tickets for 35 plus years since we moved to Indianapolis. So we really try to make sure that our brand has extensions that engage those fans no matter where they are kind of in their life cycle. But, as with any brand, I would say, we are keenly focused on, making sure that our brand does stay relevant for the younger generation. Obviously, consumer behaviors and, the way that, younger generations consume and engage with products and with brands is very different from how their parents maybe did. And, with the evolution of, digital all these digital platforms and just the amount of content that is available to them and the amount of sort of media messaging and everything, it's just become a much more congested space. And so I think for us, it's just continuing to make sure that we're working to keep our brand, yes, relevant, fresh, and on the minds of, and something that, those younger fans still want to kind of engage with and latch onto and keeping it relevant. So it's certainly, similar to a lot of other consumer brands, something that's definitely a priority for us and something that we're really focused on as we look to kind of the future of making sure that, we continue to adjust and modify how we go about doing things and how we engage in the platforms that we use and the type of content that we create and everything to make sure that, we're evolving as those consumer demands and behaviors evolve as well. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you so much. I guess with this role, you must have people come to you and say, oh, this sounds such a glamorous job. But I guess that could be quite a big misconception sometimes. Like, what would you say are the biggest misconceptions about what it's like to work in professional sports?
That's a great question. I think, and these are things that I often share with with young people. I think one of the first things I would say is just that I think people see sports and they see people getting these, sort of cool opportunities to, whether it's travel with the team or, be on the sidelines during the game and things like that. And I think understanding what goes into that and that there is a long process to kind of get to that point. It's a lot of long hours. It's a lot of hard work. And it's not always you're not always like front and center stage, in the spotlight. And I think it feels like if you're working in that industry that, because you're working for this huge brand that everyone loves, that you kind of get to be in that spotlight as well. And I think, being okay with being behind the scenes and, just working really hard, putting in long hours, you have to do it because, you love it and you believe in it. And I think, even when we have interns come in and we ask them, what was most surprising about their internship or what did they least expect, maybe, one of the common responses we get is just, I didn't realize how much hard work it was going to be. And so I think that's, one of the things that is surprising to people. I think the other thing that, again, depending on what industry you're maybe coming from, but I think just how dynamic it really is. It changes so much from year to year. Your roster changes, there's player injuries, you have things that are outside of your control as a marketing department. And so you have to be okay with that and continue to kind of build strategies that aren't necessarily just contingent on wins and losses. And you have to find ways to get creative and to continue to build your brand and build interest in your brand. And obviously, there's a phrase that winning cures all. And I will say, winning definitely makes everybody's job easier, not just, our football side and football operations jobs, but, us as a marketing team and everything, makes it so much easier when you're winning. But I think the true test of, an organization, of a staff is, what are you doing when you're not winning and when times do get tough? And you still got to, put on a great show for fans. You've still got to, give 110% and, really buckle down and work even harder during those times. And so I think, again, for fans looking out on, from the outside, on the inside, they have these kind of images of, but you get to walk, you get to interact and work with these star athletes every day. And really, I think that's, kind of a misperception. We're here to do a job. The players are here to do a job. And if you're going to work in sports, you kind of have to be able to take your passion and your fandom and channel it, from a business perspective and still look at it from kind of a business that this is a job and we're here to do a job. And I think that, is then kind of a good segue into, I know you mentioned what's it like to work in this industry as a woman. And I think, for me personally, it's been a tremendous experience. I feel very blessed because I work for an organization who, our owner has 3 daughters that are very involved in the running of our business as well. And so I've, from the time I started, have been able to have, sort of opportunities, and it's never been about a matter of, she's a woman versus, what a guy can do or anything like that. I mean, I think I've been very fortunate because we have women in those leadership, ownership positions that have kind of, set the standard that we're looking for the best people to do the role, whether that's male, female, et cetera. And even on our football side now, I mean, we have female trainers and we have, female nutritionists, and we have, just a much more diverse business, both on football side and front office side. And I think that's continuing to evolve and change as well. And so I know unfortunately, every organization is run a little differently, and people do have different experiences. And I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of anyone else that has maybe had a different experience, but I can just say for me personally, working for the organization that I do and working in the NFL, and I think the NFL office as well has been really proactive in this space and very supportive of giving women opportunities to advance and bringing them in those high-ranking positions to influence the game, because the reality is, almost half of our fan base is female. And so it's really important to make sure that your, leadership team and your staff reflects the diversity that you have in your fan base as well, because I do think we bring a different perspective. And, a great example of that is, a couple years ago, we actually installed nursing stations at our stadium. And again, I know there's other teams that have done that, but I think there's also teams that still haven't done that. And I think having female leadership, having, owners who are moms themselves and understand what it's like to bring an infant to a game, or, to be a nursing mom and want to experience a game day and just the challenges that can bring. And so we've really worked to kind of make sure that we're thinking about, all of our fans and making sure that we're trying to provide the best experience for them. And so I think having that influence from the ownership level has been really great for us. We have a female fan club called the Blue Ladies that we started years ago that's got over 600 women in it that are just avid fans of the team and love utilizing their fandom to kind of connect with other women. They go to away game trips, they have events that they do, they tailgate together. So building that kind of connections even with other female fans has been really exciting to be a part of, and I think it's something that we continue to lean into and believe in, as an organization, as a part of how we do business.
It sounds amazing. It's sports, especially in the UK, like soccer, for example, obviously that's huge here, and again, like the rising of women in that, in terms of like what you see on television, in terms of like your correspondence and that kind of thing, it's growing massively, and I think it's really positive that it is a more equal ground across the world now as well. So yeah, that's really positive to see. Now, obviously, I think you grew up kind of like seeing Colts and that kind of thing. Have you ever been in a situation where you've become like starstruck? If you did, like, who was it and why?
I don't know that I don't know that I've ever had necessarily that many moments of like that. I think one of the moments I do remember is my first NFL game that I worked as an intern. Being down there kind of in the area where, you do see like the visiting team walking on and off the field, and just, it is kind of that like larger than life experience in the sense of, you just realize, like, I'm here, I made it. Like, yeah. I did have that kind of moment my first game that I worked, and the first time I walked out onto the field, of just kind of that sense of awe and excitement, and just, wow, like this is where I've worked so hard to kind of be, and now I have this amazing opportunity to do, for me it was an internship at the time, but to be a part of this team that I've admired, and that, this league that I've admired and everything. And so there was kind of that moment for me where it was like, wow, like this is really cool. I think for me too, it's been interesting reflecting on my career. When I came here, we were, the second year that I was here full time, like we won a Super Bowl, and then went to another Super Bowl a couple years after that. And I think, to have those kind of experiences so early on, we built a new stadium within, 3 or 4 years of me starting here. And so to start a career at such kind of a high point of a franchise, you kind of, now that I'm, farther down the road, you look back and you reflect and just realize how special those moments are and how hard it is to get there, and how hard it is to win every year and to, get back to a Super Bowl and things like that. And I think reflecting on, just that special time for our franchise and for our organization, and thinking about, the players like Peyton Manning that were here. Again, when you came in, like that was just, it was business, and that was just, that was normal for us. And I think now, reflecting, you just understand, like, players like that, they don't come around very often. And so to be able to be a part of a time in our history that will go down as one of the best kind of decades in the history of our franchise, it didn't necessarily sink in when you're in the middle of it, but I think in reflection, like, that's something that I feel like I'm always going to be able to look back and say, wow, like, I was able to be a part of that and to contribute to kind of that decade in our history. So I definitely think there's moments where you get to reflect, and, you don't get time often to kind of reflect on, where you've come from and where, it's kind of on to the next thing, and you're always thinking about where are we headed next and what's on the next horizon. But I think, when I do have a chance to look back at, pictures and videos of that, kind of run that we had, it was a pretty special time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess moving away from the day job for a second, I also understand that you're a wife and you're a mother too. How do you find balancing, like, home and work life? What have been the biggest struggles?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, the struggle sometimes is just finding enough time for it all to fit in, and making sure that, I'm making my family a priority, but also, able to find the time that I need to focus on my career. And I think, I've been very blessed. My husband is extremely supportive of, and helps to fill in those gaps when I'm, working game days or staying late to work an event, or, going in on the weekends and things. He's been very supportive and, has been there to kind of, make sure that our kids still, are taken care of, and that we still have, a parent. So I think that, just having that good teammate has been really important for me, and having someone that is supportive and able to kind of step in and really, play a significant role in parenting and helping to make sure that, we've got coverage, when on pickup and drop off and all that kind of stuff. So I think, that has been really, really, crucial to kind of being able to find that balance. But I mean, it is a struggle. And I would say, anyone that works in sports, like, that's probably one of the things that they would say is one of the greater challenges, is just finding the right balance, because it is a demanding industry. But again, working for an organization that values family and understands the importance of family and everything like that is also very, has been crucial. I can't say it enough that I think having, other people working alongside me that are also, working moms and balancing career and balancing family, is important, because having that kind of support team and support, network where you can kind of understand the challenges, and, we have a very sort of team focused, environment. And so if someone has something come up with their, with their family at home, like, there's someone else that can step in and fill in, and, and vice versa. So I think having that real team and supportive environment has been, really important. But I will also say, like, having a family, it also has helped. It helps, I guess, put things in perspective too, right? Like, wins and losses are, kind of the be all end all in this business. But I think, even after a bad loss, like, being able to come home and, be around your kids, like, it definitely provides good perspective on just, it's not the end of the world, there's bigger things that, that matter. And so, don't let one loss, ruin your day or ruin your week, and really being able to kind of separate those two and still being able to go home and be the best mom you can be for your kids and put on, have a good attitude. And even though inside maybe you're frustrated because, you just came off a bad loss or whatnot. So I think it's definitely helped provide, I think, some good perspective and everything for me. And I think, the other thing that I will say is, coming up through community relations, I think, one of the things that I really have appreciated is just the platform that sports provides to, unite communities, bring people together, and, give people something to kind of pull them out of maybe the day-to-day or the challenges that they're facing every day, and that's one of the things, too, that I think is so awesome about sports is that, people can be, going through a difficult time or having a rough day, and, the Colts and our brand can lift people up and provide that kind of ray of, of sunshine. And as cliche and as it sounds, like I see it every day when we go out and whether it's our mascot going out and doing appearances or taking, players out caroling at our kids' hospital. Like, I think it's just, that's one of the things that I love so much about sports is just the ability that it has to bring people together and to unite a community and to get everybody, excited and rallying behind something. And, to see a little kid who's going through, chemo treatments, but they get so excited when they see their star player, walk in or sign an autograph for them. Like, those are the things that I think really make it oftentimes worth everything that we put in, because you really see like the impacts that you're able to have as a brand, and it just really humanizes everything, I think. So, and I know, again, we have ownership and leadership that believes in that same power of sports, and so we really continue to invest heavily in kind of the community and, giving back to our community and our fans that, that give us support throughout the year.
Absolutely. And a final question, if there was anyone who's considering a career, I guess on the business side of like an NFL or a sports organization, what kind of tips would you kind of give them to help make sure they stood out from everyone else?
Yeah, so I think, I think, if you're still in college, I would just say, really build your resume. Just having a sports marketing degree or having some classwork or coursework in, with that's around sports isn't enough. Get involved on campus, whether it's volunteering for your athletic department, whether it's getting involved with student organizations, find opportunities to build your leadership skills and, your writing skills and your communication skills, because that is so important, and will help you make you stand out. I think being really active and utilizing the time you have in school to build your resume and to get some experience is really important. I would also say, it is important to try to get some experience in the sports industry. Typically with our interns, because most of them are our season falls during the school year, most of them are recent college graduates, so they're recently graduated and they come in and do a 9 to 12 month internship with us. And so most of them, we do like to see some level of previous experience in the sports industry, whether that's an internship with a minor league baseball team, whether that's working for their college athletic team, like whatever that is, whether it's serving as a volunteer at local sporting events. We like to see some level of kind of previous work in the sports industry, and then really just work hard, and I think have a good attitude. We, like I said, we have we have a pretty robust internship program, and the interns that stand out are the ones that come in every day with a great attitude, work extremely hard, and are just proactive in how they approach things, that they're not waiting to be told what to do, but they're, thinking about, what else could I be doing to help my supervisor and to make their job easier, and, being really proactive about how they approach their business or, their day-to-day, and not getting caught up in, I'm just trying to use this position to get in front of the right people so that I can get a job here, focus on where you're at and do the very best job that you can do at the, where you're currently at. And I promise you, people, in those higher ranking officials, in those higher ranking positions will notice that. That was one of the first things that, I was kind of first pieces of advice when I came to work for the Colts is, our leadership team is always watching, and they notice people that are here to do a job and to do it well, and that are committed to, that aren't worried about, am I going to be able to get on the field, or am I going to be able to, get visibility in front of this person or whatnot. Like, they're here to do a job and to do it really well, and that they, are willing to do whatever it takes to get there, and they have a great attitude. I think not worrying about trying to be noticed, but just do your job and do it well. And and trusting that the right people will notice and will see that. And I promise you, they will. And I think sometimes that gets lost a little bit. But now that I'm in a position where, you're watching and observing how people go about their business and how they do it, and even those small interactions that you have with them, you can kind of get a feel for those people right off the gate. So right out of the bat. So I would definitely say, like, those would be some of the biggest piece of advice that I would give folks.
Amazing. It's been really, really lovely to speak to you today, Stephanie, and hear about life working within an NFL organization. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Liz, for reaching out. And certainly if you have any additional questions or follow-up, just don't hesitate to shoot me an email.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's podcast. I loved hearing Stephanie's story, and I hope you did too. Join me next Friday, where I'll be speaking to Chris Hughes, one half of the 90s era sports store National Vintage League. Chris and I talk about how the store came to be, what matters to them as a business, and what's in store for the future. See you then.